starting lineup. Last time the sisters met, July of 2016. And as Rebecca mentioned, it was an LA win because that's all that Chiney and Nneka have experienced when going up against each other. And you can see a little friendly banter right now between them. Chiney joked about maybe having to drop off some treats for Nneka to try and fatten her up for this matchup, slow her down a little bit, because she wants that win. And getting off the schneid, but it's LA who wins the opening tip. Bounces off of Gray's shoulder. A 2-0 start to the season for the Sparks as Gray misfires and is tapped out of bounds by Nneka.
Well, you see that action there, Ryan. LA trying to catch Connecticut in a switch, and they almost got it. And it was a nice job by Chiney Ogwumike defensively to get back towards Nneka.
A lot of times, Kara, these teams are compared to each other stylistically as well.
Yeah, I think if you look at the regular lineups, they are a lot of times comparable. But you look at Los Angeles and how they're having to play. Brian Agler's having to play small now. Essence Carson is the 4 player. He doesn't have the services of Candace Parker. He doesn't have the services of Jantel Lavender. And so I think it's something that they've got to focus on in terms of being physical and rebounding in tonight's game against a bigger Sun front line.
Jantel Lavender still finishing up overseas. Should join LA in the not-too-distant future. And Candace Parker could play in the next game or two for the Sparks. Here's Williams. Trying to work around Sims. Ducks inside and can't hit. Nneka's jumper is off. No score yet. That is too strong on the delivery from 3 from Jasmine Thomas. Little run out here. Connecticut gets back.
Brian Agler exhorting his team to move the basketball, and you see it moving at a nice pace. And a lot of times ball movement does that exactly. It gets you an open look at the basket. And Essence Carson playing that 4 position now. There's some spacing for Los Angeles on that on the floor. Not that there's not that when Candace Parker's in the lineup, but they definitely have the small lineup where they can move with a lot of speed.
Carson had 10 points in the opener against Minnesota after finishing last year with 13 straight games with 6 or fewer points. As that one drops in for Shekinna Strickland. And a whistle away from the ball. That's going the other way. As we take a look back at that ball movement you were talking about, Kara.
Well, it's what Brian Agler's screaming the entire offensive possession is move it, move it, move it. The quicker that you make decisions allows you to be so devastating on the offensive end because the ball will always move faster than the defensive player movement. And so Essence Carson gets a clean look. She's the beneficiary of that.
Kara, that's one of the things Connecticut is trying to do offensively is get the ball moving as well. As you see Alyssa Thomas with the finish. Kurt Miller was saying one of the things LA does so well is pressure you defensively, and you can't let them keep you on one side of the floor.
Last season, LA won all 3 matchups between these teams as Sims is fouled by Williams and will shoot 2. Let's look back at the Thomas bucket, Rebecca.
Alyssa Thomas, for much of her early career, played the 3 position. Last year, she was moved to the 4 spot and really thrived. And this is one of the things she can do so well is score with her back to the basket. That time against a like-sized defender. But she is effective even against bigger 4s.
Rebecca, Connecticut was a team that came on last season, really exploded, and they were able to do it without Chiney Ogwumike. How high is the ceiling for this group this year with Kurt Miller getting Chiney back?
Well, they were a bit of a surprise a season ago to most people. I don't think most WNBA fans expected Connecticut to be in the playoffs, and they made it that far. And this is a talented team, and they have terrific chemistry, and especially with Chiney back, you'll see John Cole Jones, one of their best players, is coming off the bench early in the season. This team is very good.
It's hooked in by Chiney on the quick move inside off the delivery from Williams.
there's 2 possessions, guys, where Essence Carson has had to take a post player. Obviously, she's playing that 4 position. She got scored on one-on-one by Thomas, and then there on the help, it was pretty easy for Agumake to shoot it over her. That's part of the size differential that we talked about with LA not having their frontline players. So just a little loop action, Rebecca, and then the ball screen. See, Essence has to come over and help, but it's almost like Chene didn't even see her or didn't even notice her or feel her because it wasn't a tremendous amount of size coming over to help.
You can sense the size of your defender, and some have intimidating size and others do not, Ryan.
Oh, I feel like there was a certain emphasis alluding to if you and I were to play one-on-one. Am I right?
There may have been.
That is 6'4" on 6 foot when it comes to... well, not when it comes to me and you, but when it comes to Chene and Essence. Although in my boots, I get to about 6 foot, Rebecca.
Guys, I'm sorry. I'm not controlling my side of the court over here. Brian Agler just picked up a technical.
Aren't you the get back coach? You have been keeping him back.
I was laughing at the humor between you two, and I totally missed the outburst between Agler and the referee.
And Brian Agler's still going at it.
Yeah, he is.
Sue Blau, Roy Gobain, Tim Green are our officials today.
Let's go.
Brian Agler less than thrilled.
We love the live mics on our coaches.
Yeah. They'll be open periodically all night. Catch, fire, hit for Chelsea Gray. Led the WNBA in three-point shooting percentage last year at 48%. This game tied at 7. Essence Carson got her hands on it, but it pops back out to Thomas. The shovel inside, collected by Williams. A lot of Connecticut's work offensively happening around the rim. As that is tossed away, but hit by Jasmine Thomas, or was it? And now Sue Blau and Roy Gobain will converge. And this is going to go the other way. LA turns it over. It's Connecticut basketball.
Kurt Miller just looked at me and said, I'm the only one that touched that one because the ball ended up in his lap right in front of me.
Has he talked trash to you yet, Rebecca?
Not yet. I mean, he hasn't talked trash to anybody.
Well, he's right in front of you. You may want to beckon some of that.
Yes, I will try to elicit as much of that as I can.
Nice fake from Thomas, but then poked from behind by Carson. 4-on-2 developing. Here is Beard over 2 defenders, puts it in.
Nice patience there by Odyssey Sings on the numbers break. Held it into just the right moment to put Elena Beard into a good position to finish that.
Two chances, neither bears fruit. Here comes LA. Sims pull up. Looked like it might have been deflected. Williams racing down floor. Thomas gets it to her, and it's stripped out of bounds by Beard. Timeout on the court. Chinea Agumake with a long road back to the floor. And Rebecca Lobo is going to chat with her about it. We'll hear from the two next here on ESPN2.
ESPN's coverage of the WNBA.
To go, caught up with Rebecca Lobo.
Second game back after missing a whole year due to injury. What is it like to be on this floor right now?
It means everything to me. I mean, I've waited 2 years for this, and it's cool to play against my sister so early. Still trying to get my legs and my lungs back, but it feels good to be home.
You've had a matchup with her a few times down the floor. What is it like to be going up against Big Sis?
No easy baskets, NECA. No easy baskets. I mean, I had to foul her real quick because she got positioned. But it's good. She wants what's best for me, and I want what's best for her, but not today.
All right, Chene, thank you.
It was so interesting, Kara and Rebecca, just talking to both of them before the game and seeing how NECA was probably more emotional than Chene even was when Chene suffered the Achilles injury. And NECA saying, knowing what she had been through and back-to-back travels for the sisters as they exchange turnovers, but knowing what Chene had been through with the injury in 2015, It was Nneka who really took it hard seeing Chiney get hurt again in 2017. And actually, she was the one who arranged her sister's flight to get right back to the States for surgery. That's out of bounds off of Williams as Connecticut turns it over.
That's one of the things that Brian Agler was frustrated about in the timeout. LA had 4 turnovers going in the timeout. They just had their 5th, and he yelled at his team, hey, stay composed and do what we do, and have, you know, have a sense about what you're doing. Didn't like how scattered they were on the offensive end. Yeah,
well, it continues here, although Beard ends up with it and connects. Long 2 for Elena Beard. And Chiney able to hit the jumper. Nneka with an answer from 3.
That's something that Agler dialed up. I mean, is yelling down to Chelsea Gray, wanted a certain look, and you have to hedge the screen just a little bit, just a tad, and that's what Chiney did. Nneka popped it to the top of the key and got that open 3. Nice pass.
Alyssa Thomas gets 3 for 2.
But how about this sister act? One travels, the other travels. One hits a perimeter jumper, the other hits a perimeter jumper. It's like when twins speak twin language. These basketball sisters are speaking basketball to one another.
It's true. We kind of got a feel for that before the game, sitting down with both of them, finishing each other's sentences. Down inside as Chiney provides the block. Now will Nneka have one on this end? No. Strickland. A 16-14 Connecticut lead here in the first. Cappy Pondexter in for LA. Here is Beard. 4 to shoot. Gray looking to massage to the free throw line. She does for 2.
And the shot clock and the game, right? Remember that Chelsea Gray game winner in the opener at Minnesota. That's who I'm going to if I'm Brian Agler.
Jasmine Thomas with the tray. Connecticut 2 of 3 from downtown.
He's going to dial it up here for Gray again.
Beard gets it back to Gray. Deep position inside, and Nneka is fouled by Chiney, who wasn't so sure. Let's go back to the exchange between the sisters.
Well, Chiney doesn't quite have 3-point range, but she's extended it a bit and able to do it on one end of the floor. Karen, what happens on the other end?
Oh, you know, you talk about the 3-point range, and that's what Nneka Ogwumike has. And she is a complete player on the offensive end of the floor, and that's why it's difficult to defend, especially when she's setting those screens so far away from the basket. You have to honor the guard coming off it, and when you do as a post defender, a lot of times you leave her open to get that look.
When we asked Chiney what she would take from Nneka's game, she said, oh, no doubt, her range, her ability to shoot the 3. Of course, she could do this too.
That's the second foul now. Chiney Ogwumike out of the game, and both fouls were picked up defending Big Sis.
Pretty nice, though, when you're Kurt Miller and you can turn to Jonquel Jones to come in for Chiney Ogwumike. Jonquel Jones, an outstanding season last year. Set a WNBA record for most rebounds per game. That'll go down, plus the foul. Shakina Strickland with a chance for a 3-point play, and Connecticut has hit its last 5.
Shakina, big guard who can hit from deep, but also has the size to get inside. A tiny bit of contact, but enough to get her to the free throw line.
Yeah, that's just bad defense by LA right there. It's just bad ball screen defense for Connor Williams, Carly Samuelson, not in tandem there.
I think that's exactly what Brian Agler will be saying in the film session. That's just bad ball screen defense there.
Sims plunges, gets denied. 6 to shoot. Nneka, short. That's poked out of bounds, and that gives us a chance to take a look at the upcoming WNBA national TV schedule. On NBA TV Sunday, Seattle at Las Vegas, ESPN2 Friday, June 1st, Phoenix at Minnesota at 8 Eastern. On Thursday, June 7th, it's Seattle at LA on ESPN2. For more on these games, go to WNBA.com or visit the WNBA app. Does that feel like a full slate to you, Rebecca?
I think that slate's pretty full, Ryan.
Okay, good.
I'll be out in that Minnesota game against Phoenix. I'm excited to see Diana Taurasi in person this year. Had some rest, and she's been playing great basketball.
Final 45 seconds of this first quarter. Samuelson sets the screen, gets it back, pops, hits. Carly Samuelson on the board. 2-point Connecticut lead, 2-for-1 opportunity for the Sun. Bentley looking to take advantage of it. Jones traveled. And Connecticut turns it over. So sitting behind the benches so far in this first quarter, Rebecca, what stood out to you?
Well, one thing that was interesting to me in the last timeout was Alex Bentley, who is in the game now but did not start the game, was probably one of the more vocal players on the bench. It's interesting to see which players get involved in talking to her teammates. And remember, Bentley was a starter at the beginning of the season a year ago before going to the bench, so knows how to fill that role.
And how about for you, Karen?
I've got to keep my eye on Brian Agler. I let him get away from me, and he picked up the technical. So, I'm not as disciplined as I need to be, guys. I'm going to work on that in the next 3 quarters.
Can we confirm that you may have, in fact, spurred him to the technical?
I cannot confirm nor deny.
2.5 seconds left. Thomas gets it off. Short from 3, and that will do it for this first quarter. Big first quarter for Shekinna Strickland. Put in 9 points to lead Connecticut. We'll be back with our all-stars behind the bench, Rebecca Lobo and Kara Lawson, here in Uncasville.
Brian struggled a little bit taking care of the basketball there in that first quarter. What are you emphasizing to the team here at the break?
Well, they're getting out in the pressure a little bit. We knew that, Jasmine and Courtney like to run through passing lanes. So we've got to back cut them a little bit. But the passer has to be alert, too. So we got to keep the ball moving. If we move the ball and have the ability to get the ball in the lane, then I think we'll get some good shots.
You got some good actions for some of your post players off of that ball screen to get them some open jump shots. What do you like about that action on the open side to get you quality looks?
Yeah, our offense needs to be slippery. I mean, we need to hit and run. We got to go. So they're doing a good job. They're an improved defensive team, so we got to figure out ways to get the ball in the tunnel.
Thanks for the time.
6 ties, 3 lead changes in that first quarter, and Brian Agler got to use his favorite word, the tunnel. I see you smiling, Rebecca.
You know how much I like it when Brian Agler talks about the tunnel.
It's the 3.
In the last time out for Connecticut, the player's name I heard more than any other was Carly Samuelson. And Kurt Miller wanted his team to go at her because she's an undersized 4, and that's what you saw in the last possession. But Samuelson was able to take the charge. That time, Jonquel Jones gets the finish. And then he was also telling his team, we have to switch screens that involve Samuelson because of her 3-point ability. So what did we see last possession? She drained a deep one.
Carson hits the 3. Kara, it's so interesting because LA normally, they have the ability to play bigger than anybody else with Parker and Lavender.
Yep.
But obviously they're both not here. And that forces Brian Agler to have to do something that his team just isn't normally accustomed to doing, and that's playing small.
Well, we heard him in the interview talk about being slippery on the offensive end, and I think when you're undersized, you also have to be slippery on the defensive end like Raquana Williams was on that steal, because you have to fight around, you have to circle, you have to utilize what your strength is, which is your speed and your quickness generally when you're an undersized player.
Brian Agler is going to take an early timeout here in this second quarter, with the game tied at 26 and 8:23 to go in quarter number 2. At the beginning of another outstanding WNBA season as this league continues to grow and the talent continues to grow as well. Plenty of it on the floor tonight. LA and Connecticut tied at 26 early going in the second quarter as Neko Gumake can't stick that. Rebound saved, or no. Sims out of bounds, and it'll be Connecticut basketball.
Boy, that length for Jonquel Jones is different. I mean, I think it's changing Neko Gumake's shot a little bit different than shooting over her sister.
So long. Jonquel Jones had a monster season last year as Connecticut adds to the three-point ledger. Rachel Banham connecting from deep.
That last huddle, Kurt Miller talking to his team quite a bit about making good passes and moving the basketball. Nice in-out to get Banham the open three.
Gumake puts it in, plus the foul.
Okay, there went the length theory. But what you like to do with that size is get it on the move, and that's exactly what LA does. And they've had good success with this early in the game. And they haven't scored on every play, but when you get Neko Gumake, a player that is so versatile on an open side, and all that means is everyone else is on the opposite side of the floor, there's very little that a defender can do one-on-one.
This morning, Kurt Miller talking about Jonquel Jones defensively, saying that's the next thing for her is to become an elite-level rim protector. Right now, she's an elite-level defensive rebounder, getting her hands on the offensive board there, but he wants her to be an elite-level rim protector as well.
And that's where it feels like Janae has an advantage as she starts with Odyssey Sims finishing in traffic, and Kurt Miller will take a timeout. Sparks in front by 2, back and forth first quarter. Neither team has led by more than 4 at any point as Odyssey Sims carves through the D and gives LA a 2-point lead.
Cassidy Hubbard, Katie Douglas in your WNBA studios. Quick impressions of the first half between the Sparks and Sun.
Well, I think both teams are settling in. It's the second quarter. It's still tight, but my question is, who's going to separate themselves before halftime?
Well, we'll expand on that and more in the WNBA halftime report presented by State Farm, including highlights of Mystic and Fever. But now let's send it out to Ryan, Kara, and Rebecca.
All right, Cassidy, it's been good action in this opening out. The Sparks a 2-point lead on the Sun. Neither team is led by more than 4 at any point. And each team shooting it well from the floor. 57% for each. Shooting well from 3 also. LA 4 of 4 and Connecticut 3 of 6. Bentley. Over to Banham. Jonquel Jones. Had it poked away. Kara and Rebecca both behind the benches for this broadcast. So as Jones squeezes that in, Kara, anything unexpected as you're behind that LA bench that you've seen or heard thus far in this first half?
I wouldn't say anything unexpected, Ryan, but one of the things I think that is cool about being in a huddle during timeouts is how many conversations are going on simultaneously. Like the coach is talking to players, but before the coach gets into the huddle, there's players talking to players about coverages, about schemes. And so there's so many things going on, so many ways of communication. It's not just the coach with the clipboard talking to the 5 players that are on the court.
And being back in the huddle, I had the recovered memory of the lonely life of the Expo marker, the dry erase marker that the coaches just beat into a pulp as their anger's coming through. You've got to move the ball, and that poor tip of the marker getting crushed. And I just remember that so fondly and vividly from when I was a player.
Well, clearly, Rebecca, who was the most abusive to the whiteboard and the marker of the coaches you had between college and pro?
It could have been actually Mike Tebow when I played for him with the Connecticut Sun when he got extra frustrated.
He seems like one who would destroy a marker or two.
I can confirm the Tebow. I can confirm the Tebow anger on the clipboard. Yes.
Kara Lawson, having played for Mike Tebow, knows what that would look like up close. Sparks a 2-point lead on Connecticut. LA falling a game short of a championship last year after winning it in 2016. That's out of bounds off of Connecticut, and Alex Bentley will stay right here. Meanwhile, the Sun, as Rebecca talked about earlier, 21-13 last year, best record since 2012. It was surprising to many, not to Rebecca, and not to some other people who had seen the young talent that Connecticut was starting to gather. And now with Chiney Ogwumike back, you wonder just where can this team go this season? I mean, Kara, it's not totally outlandish to think this could be a finals preview, is it?
I don't.
That's disrespectful to Minnesota, obviously, right away. But Connecticut showed last year certainly an ability to take a big leap.
Yeah, I mean, listen, this is a team, and Brian Agler told us this morning he thinks this is one of the best 4 teams in the league, in the WNBA. You know, their next step is going to be winning games in the postseason. And, you know, they lost their game last season against Phoenix. Remember, it's that one-game format for all the teams that aren't the top 2 seeds, at least to start. And that's a challenge, even if you have the home court, because it's one game. Right now, and it's early, I find it hard to believe that a team will, you know, beat Minnesota or LA in a series leading into the finals. But Phoenix is obviously very talented as well. You know, we'll see as it plays out. But those 2 teams, by virtue of what they've done, right? By virtue of their positioning the last few years, those are the heavy favorites to meet again.
Deep catch from Chiney, and she's able to swing that in. Well, the other thing we've seen, Rebecca, is it puts such an emphasis on each regular season game because you want to get one of those top 2 seeds and avoid that one-game play at all costs. As Carson connects on a long 2 that they will review.
And Ryan, that's why it's so important for LA to have been able to play the way they've played with the pieces that they're missing.
Yeah, great point.
Candace Parker not being here, Lavender not here yet because of overseas commitments. You know, and you also look at the role that injuries could play in a season because every game's so important when you're trying to get the double bye.
Nice dump off from Jones to Chiney, and that could be an exciting combo, Rebecca. The 2 bigs who didn't get a lot of time together at all before the start of this season.
Jonquel Jones just arriving in the last few days after having some visa issues coming from home in the Bahamas. So she and Ogwumike did not get a lot of time in training camp to work, but yes, Curt Miller has been thinking about the possibilities of having them on the court for the past couple of seasons.
Carson is short. Bentley lobs it. Ogwumike can't get to it as Connecticut turns it over.
Jonquel Jones at 6'6", a tremendous athlete. Not often do you see bigs able to really run the floor like she can. This time it goes into Ogwumike finishing inside. So posting up, this has been something that Curt Miller has talked about repeatedly in his huddles, and that is trying to find the matchup that is in his favor. Because LA is going with a smaller lineup to figure out which post player has the smaller one on her and then exploit that.
Gray, deep heave is good. That rainbow delivery from 3. Neither team still has led by more than 4 at any point. And that's going to be an offensive foul as Connecticut will turn it over for an 11th time this half. Shakina Strickland gets saddled with the personal.
Hey, Strickland wasn't happy, thinking she got pushed.
You missed it!
There you go.
You missed it! That's your warning!
You know, I don't know if Coach Miller's already gotten a warning. I haven't seen that, but I'm glad that he just gave the official her warning.
And he's still going at Sue Blau, who's the official position most closely to him. Be careful over there, Rebecca.
So I wonder how that works, like coach to referee warning, because referee to coach warning, it doesn't matter, right? One referee gives it, and you've been warned, and then they inform the other. So does Curt have 3 warnings to burn here, or does he only get the 1?
I'll say this. If I was an official, I would give the coach with a sense of humor a lot more leeway than the one who didn't have it.
Right, that's got to make you laugh.
It has to. It made me. I don't know if it made her laugh. It made us laugh, so it was worth it.
No doubt. 4 to shoot. Gray fading away, puts it in. Chelsea Gray now with 10 points in the half.
Oh.
And what do we have here?
Technical line, Coach Miller.
Yeah. It was just a matter of time.
Well, Kara, at least I kept mine in control until the second quarter.
Now Kurt Miller turning to you.
And I won't repeat what he just said.
Rebecca, why don't you find a creative way to share it?
Well, with really little kids, I would spell it.
Don't spell it.
Don't spell it.
I can't even spell it.
I think the really little kids might already be asleep.
Can we get in trouble for spelling bad words on TV?
Yes, you can.
Okay.
Janae gets the roll inside. But you know, Rebecca, you can say anything once.
Okay, now Chanae lost her contact. I actually see it on the floor right now.
You want to point it out to her?
Yeah, it's right by the C in the half court. And they're walking by it. They're missing it. It's right there.
And Chanae is a colleague of ours.
Someone almost stepped on it.
Yeah, oh, wait.
It's right there. It's right there. It's right.
Yeah, Chanae's
I
a little
can't
bit
get
closer
anyone's
to
attention.
You. No.
On the other side, but it's over there. She's about to... No, she didn't step on it.
It's still out there, huh?
Yeah, I can see it.
John Quell's getting close, no?
Yeah, I don't want to get a technical going on the court, so...
So all it took was you being behind the bench to be able to see where this contact is. Yeah.
They're playing with the contact, I guess.
Janae came off the court and said, "Coach, I got to come out. I can't see." So you saw that she's going back to the locker room to get another contact lens in her eye.
Yeah.
Is her contact still intact from what you can tell, Kara?
Beautiful delivery there from Gray after the breakdown as LA adds to the lead.
I don't see it anymore.
Uh-oh.
It's on the bottom of someone's shoe.
Yeah.
I hope there are extras in the locker room. Touch pass, Jones. Jumper drops for Williams. I didn't know that Kara had the vision of a hawk until...
Impressive, right?
Janae created that opportunity.
I got lucky. I saw it fall out of her eye, so that's how I was able to see it.
Well, that's even more impressive.
No.
Necka can't hit the three. Williams around the Jones screen from 17. It's a two-point game. Final minute of this second quarter. And it's been a fun back-and-forth affair. 12 ties, 8 lead changes. Tie up on the floor with 4 to shoot.
Courtney Williams is an elite-level athlete for this Connecticut team, and it allows her to get up, get boards, can push the other way, and elevate over most defenders. Not a lot of players have the hops that she has in this league, except Kara Lawson.
Legendary. Legendary.
I think you and I are both known for our quickness and our hops.
Yes. Defensive prowess, too.
Gray can't hit from 3. Humor and self-awareness, though. We can give you both those qualities. 2-for-1 opportunity for Connecticut. Jones backs in. Good dig there from Beard, the reigning defensive player of the year, but she's called for a foul, and Brian Agler has a look of astonishment on his face.
I'm a little surprised, too. I thought it was Jonquel Jones that created it. I thought it was good timing, an element of surprise for Elena Beard to come in there.
Now LA over the limit, and you could hear Brian Agler reminding his team of that. Agumake jumps through, racing up the floor, losing the handle, and stripped. Here comes Thomas with a shot clock turned off. Jones bodies in for the bucket in the foul.
One of the things that made Alyssa Thomas so special a season ago when she was moved from the 3 to 4 was her ability to get to D-board and push it the other way. She is a facilitating forward, one of the best in the league. It's nice when you can deliver to a 6'6" teammate to finish.
It's always a difficult thing from an organizational standpoint in transition defensively to figure out when the 4 or the 5 is pushing at you really quickly, because it's typically guards that are back. It's typically them that are matching up first. And a lot of times it can confuse teams and put them in a bad position. And that's such a luxury for Kurt Miller to have with Thomas at the 4 spot doing it.
A 7-0 Connecticut run that'll have a chance to end at the free throw line as Sims was knocked. And Odyssey Sims will shoot a pair.
Jazz, beat 5.
Well, one of the things that Brian Agler tries to do from a strategic standpoint is get Odyssey Sims in situations where she's going left. A left-hander and really strong. So when she's on the left side of the floor, you're defending her. You're obviously thinking baseline. If she's on the right side of the floor, you're thinking middle in terms of where she's strongest going to.
The WNBA season is here, obviously. Don't miss a minute of the game action. See it all in person. Get your tickets today at WNBA.com/tickets.
And Kara, if you're a big that's on her, no matter which way she's going, you're thinking, uh-oh.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's some guards that have to think uh-oh too with her. I mean, she's a talented player.
Thomas was able to speed her way to a decent look, but that'll do it for the first half. Nneka and Chiney both putting in 10 points. 14 ties, 10 lead changes in the opening half. Our halftime score, LA 47 and Connecticut 46. We're going to send you back to Cassidy Hubbard and Katie Douglas in the studio for the halftime report presented by State Farm. That's coming up right after these messages. Ties, 10 lead changes in an exciting first half. And it's the Sparks leading by 1 as we get ready to start the third quarter. Ryan Rucco with you inside Mohegan Sun Arena. And tonight, we have our 2 all-star analysts behind the benches, including Carol Lawson, who is behind the LA bench. Carol, what do you think of the performance of one of the Agumake sisters, Nneka, in that first half?
I thought it was a solid performance for Nneka. Just 3 for 8 from the field, but she had 10 points, and she draws so much attention on the offensive end of the floor and the front line because this is an LA Sparks roster that's without Candace Parker and without Jantel Lavender, and so she's getting a lot of opportunities. She's getting a lot of attention. She saw a few different defenders, but I thought she acquitted herself very well. Rebecca, there's another Agumake on the other team. How do you think she did in the first half?
Well, she was definitely efficient, 5 or 6 from the floor. She had 2 fouls, both trying to guard her big sister, Nneka, but Chiney did really well. We know that she can score. She's added a little bit of a perimeter game, but her bread is buttered when she gets the ball inside the paint. Such good footwork, such good finishing ability, showing that in the first half.
Well, Chiney and Nneka each pouring in 10 points. Nneka 5-0 in her career against Chiney. And we saw in that text message from Chiney to Cassidy, that was on the pregame, how badly Chiney wants to add a victory to her tally against Big Sister. Strickland had a strong start to the game, but not that time. It's going to be an offensive foul, and for Shakina Strickland, personal number 2.
What an incredible defensive possession by Elena Beard. I mean, just incredible. And you could probably say that multiple times a quarter with how good she is on the defensive end of the floor, but she guarded 2 different Connecticut Sun players and was able to draw the turnover.
Beard, 36 years old, is still so good on that end of the floor. Gray hits the 3. Chelsea Gray now with 14. She leads all scorers. Gray is 3 of 4 from downtown. LA 6 of 11 as a team. And Sims comes away with the steal. Trying to blast ahead of the field. Got bumped a little, no call, and now it's Connecticut who has numbers. Alyssa Thomas finds the cutting Williams. Easy two.
Brian Agler yelling at the bench. That's 3 times we haven't converted a layup, and then they've gotten one on the other end of the floor. And a couple in the first half and one right there, and those are just killers. Those are 4-point swings for teams.
Essence Carson buries the 3.
She shot it well from the outside tonight.
10 points now for Carson, who is 2 of 4 from deep. 4 of the 5 LA starters in double figures. Beard the only one who is not. Beautiful elevation from Williams on that jump shot.
Carrie, talk about Essence Carson shooting the ball well. That's so important for Los Angeles because there were times in the playoffs last year, the finals, that her inability to consistently hit the 3 kept her off the floor. She's a very good defender. To see Elena Beard hit that shot. So important for Carson to be able to continue to be efficient from the outside.
And Rebecca, we even saw times where she was reluctant to shoot it at all, never mind have success when she did.
Well, sometimes it messes with your head a little bit when teams aren't playing you, or you know that when you're in there that there's a lot of pressure on you having to make those outside shots because of the space that you're being given. I mean, so much of shooting is mental.
No question. Good sign for LA, seeing the way that Carson has shot it as Beard misses that one, gets it back, and a reset for LA. Sims using the Agumake screen. Finds her on the roll, and Chene knocks it away. Strickland tries to go around the back, and Elena Beard forced what will be turnover number 16 for Connecticut.
Yeah, she is so good on defense. Like, one of the things that, you know, I remember playing against Elena for a lot of years, and one of the things when you talk about aggressiveness as a defender, okay, and you talk about players that are aggressive, a lot of times people associate that with a lot of activity, right, with their hands and with their feet and their quickness. What always was scary for me going against Elena Beard was the thought that she was going to take the basketball, or the thought that she was just laying in wait or lying in wait to now attack and to now try and get that basketball, and just knowing that she was always poised and waiting for the moment of weakness of a ball handler. That takes an intelligent defender, that takes a skilled defender, it takes an athletic defender. Elena Beard's all 3 of those, and it's amazing what she's doing as a premier defender in this league at the age of 36.
So, Kara, you're saying she almost had this psychological edge on the defensive floor then?
Well, think about, like, you're dribbling up the floor, okay, as a player. And if someone reaches in, you will react to them, and you'll back up dribble, or you'll put your arm up, or you'll attack. You'll maybe try and go by them. So that's one way of someone kind of putting fear in what you're doing as a ball handler. Another way is the thought of them reaching in, right? Like the thought of them doing something and you having to guard against that. It's almost the anticipation, and that fear is almost a greater fear than the actual, you know, the action of them doing that. Yeah, I mean, and the other thing for her that I think is a positive is she's a lefty, and a lot of players are righties. And so her strong hand when she's defending you is your strong hand. And so her pokeaways and her ability to do those types of things are right up her alley when you're a right-hander.
Mirrors against each other nicely.
Yeah.
And Beard, the Defensive Player of the Year last year, in her 12th season able to win that award.
As a guard.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't see that very often.
Such an impact defender. 6-time all-defensive team as Sims can't finish. And Thomas just ripped that rebound away from Beard and gets tripped by Agumake. And quickly back on her feet.
Ryan, being part of this telecast near the benches, hearing the coaches, you see so many things that we wouldn't see if we were sitting next to you, including I'm sitting right next to the printer that prints out all the box scores, and it's having some problems right now, and they just had somebody over here trying to troubleshoot it. But at the next TV timeout, if you don't get a box score, this baby's not humming.
You're going to give us the inside scoop why. I love it. By the way, there is nothing more intimidating in life than having to replace an ink cartridge. I almost throw my printer out when I see that come up. Janelle Agumake lays it in.
Keeping her off the boards is pretty intimidating in life too, Ryan.
That's something Nneka told us before the game. How hard it is to box Chiney out. Here is Nneka as the sisters exchange buckets.
I would run that play so many times if I were Brian Agler, because with Chelsea Gray at the controls and with Nneka Ogwumike setting the screen, there's very few ways that you can defend that successfully.
Talked about Chiney Ogwumike and her ability on the offensive glass because she's relentless, always active, can just get up and finish inside.
And both players go to Chelsea Gray. She's played well, and Nneka's able to knock down the open shot.
12 points apiece between Chiney and Nneka. We were asking them about playing one-on-one against each other growing up, and Nneka said, no, we never really played one-on-one. It was usually one-on-three. Nneka against 3 younger siblings, and then eventually they were on the same team, so they were usually playing together. Thomas, like a freight train, finds Strickland off on a 3. Gray, nice job on the glass. And then the overhand pass to Sims. Trying to wiggle free, she does for 2. And as soon as she put the bucket in, Brian Agler screaming at Odyssey Sims, get back on D. Let's take a listen in to Chiney and Nneka talking about facing each other.
I love playing against her because I've always had a front row seat to her success. MVP, championship, and those are my goals. I always call her my goal model because she sets these goals and she just achieves them. But, playing against her, it's tough because I still see her as my sister. Usually I run back and I'm like, hey, what's good? And she's like, all right, play here, jab, stab, fade away, bucket. And I'm like, oh my God, I'm about to get roasted.
The thing about playing against Chiney that I miss playing with her is that she works extra hard every possession. She does not give up any possessions. And playing against someone like that, it's hard. And
where did I learn it from?
No, it's a part of your game.
It's your motor.
So I have to gear up to do that now.
Pretty fun yin and yang in the exchange between them. And I love that word or phrase that Chiney came up with for Nneka, goal model. Instead of role model, her goal model. As that drops in for Strickland. But in obvious respect and love for one another and enjoyment in the competition between them, Chiney said she felt like her family might be rooting for her just because she's never beaten Nneka, so it's her turn. Carson can't finish. Nneka the rebound, bodying into Chiney and puts it in off the glass.
What incredible patience by Nneka Ogwumike. She got that ball and she was surrounded by 3 Connecticut Sun defenders, and instead of traveling or putting the basketball down, she just was patient and a layup opened up.
Chiney on the offensive glass, can't finish, but then Williams was just left alone. Literally nobody there on the left block. Three-point game. And a timeout taken by LA.
Well, Nneka Ogwumike has had a typical night for her. One of the best players in the WNBA. The patience and the accuracy has her Sparks team up by 3.
ESPN's coverage of the WNBA is brought to you by Nissan, innovation that excites, and Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance.
The Los Angeles Sparks have led the entire third quarter, but not by more than 5 points. In fact, neither team has led by more than 6 at any point in this game. Tightly played, 14 ties, 10 lead changes. Those all happened in the first half. 5 to shoot. Gray puts it up and in. 16 for Chelsea Gray. Alyssa Thomas banging, can't finish, tipped out of bounds, stays with Connecticut.
See behind you, hand back, under, contain, thumbs up.
The contain part didn't happen on that for everybody at home, of what Brian Agler was talking about.
So instead, you saw 2 arms wide out as if to say, yes. Where was the contain?
Where was the contain on that? Yep.
Pondexter, nice delivery, and Agumake pushes it in. Nneka now with 16 points. And tumbling to the floor is Bentley.
Yeah, Rebecca, we talked about this
Come on now, you gotta see
a little bit at shoot-around today.
Everybody's focusing on their own man. It's a team game.
Yeah, that's what he's talking about, the contain. We were talking about, Rebecca, about Chelsea Gray and just kind of her maturation and her growth as a player. And she's turned herself into an elite point guard in this league, and started her career at Connecticut, had an injury-plagued career at Duke in college, and she's become one of the premier point guards in this league. I mean, she really does have it all.
And one of the ways she's done it is just by getting herself more physically fit. From 2 years ago to now, she's lost about 15 or 20 pounds. She was talking about this with LaChina Robinson when we were in Minnesota this past weekend, and she said she changed her diet. She watched the way Elena Beard ate, the way Elena Beard worked out. She tried to replicate some of those things when she was overseas, and it's clearly, you know, paid dividends for her just in terms of what she can do physically and the confidence that she has in terms of her mental game as well.
It's evident, and it's evident in the impact that she can have, and on a team full of star players. She has become one of their most reliable options in crunch time and is unafraid of the moment.
Here's the change in body type that you're alluding to, and you could just see not only the weight loss, but the muscle and the definition in the arms that Gray has put on over the 2 years. And remember, Chelsea Gray was a member of the Connecticut Sun. And Rebecca, we can remember Chiney Agumake being on our set as Sims lays it in for the draft a couple of years ago when Gray was traded from Connecticut to LA, and Chiney saying, oh, that's no good. And if you would have looked at Chelsea's numbers, you would have said, well, why is she so upset about Chelsea Gray being traded? And Chiney said, oh, you watch. Chelsea Gray is a terrific player who's going to be better and better. And you know what? Chiney was 100% right. It's exactly the trajectory of Chelsea Gray's career. And in fairness to Connecticut, the deal turned out fine for them as well, as they ended up acquiring Jonquel Jones in that draft.
Yeah, that was a trade that worked really well for both teams. And remember, Kara talked about it. Chelsea Gray had a lot of injuries in college, and when she was drafted as an injured player who could not play that year. But credit her for the work to come back and become the player she's become.
Looks like the printer's working over there, Rebecca.
Yeah, but the ink, it's still kind of like a gray color, so it's not completely right.
They didn't change the cartridge.
I think they actually found a different printer.
Oh. Yeah, here's the kind of stat that, I don't know if it's a stat. It's just something that I like to use when I'm watching film, and especially with point guards. So I don't track this, so this is unofficial, okay?
Yes.
But when I'm watching film of guards and I have to stop the tape and rewind it and see what they saw, or they catch me by surprise because I'm like, I didn't see that pass like live right away. And I know their vision is excellent, because there's very few guards that make me do that in this league. There just are. Chelsea Gray is one of those guards where there are a couple times a game or a couple times where you'll stop, you'll say, what did she see there? Okay, how did she see that? Okay, let me rewind it and see. And there are very few players that make me do that on film, and Chelsea Gray at times is one of them.
Gary, you're right. That's absolutely not a stat, but
no, it's not a stat.
That is a terrific point and a wonderful observation, and it is what makes Chelsea Gray such a unique player and such an important player to Los Angeles. She's already had a big impact tonight, 16 points, 5 assists, 3 rebounds on 6 of 9 shooting. Meanwhile, Neko Gumike with 18 points on 7 of 12 shooting, and you saw her collect that loose ball amongst 4 members of the Sun moments ago.
Are you sure that's not an advanced analytic?
That could, someday it might be.
Could be.
Sports Center coming up at 11 Eastern on ESPN with Steve Levy and John Butchergross. The Rockets and Warriors vie for control of the series in Game 5 of the Western Conference Finals. Hear from all the stars, including live news conferences. Plus, Charlie Morton of the Astros and Rick Porcello of the Red Sox try to join the 7-win club. Tops in baseball. Sports Center 11 Eastern on ESPN and the ESPN app. I bet you guys didn't know the 7-win club was a thing until tonight.
No idea. No.
Thanks to our promotions department, now you do. Thomas burrows in and a foul. As Alyssa Thomas, so strong, uses that quick hop and muscle to earn a trip to the line. Second foul on Chelsea Gray. Nobody in any particular foul trouble right now. Nobody with more than 2.
Now, Alyssa Thomas, take a look at her shooting this free throw. Something really interesting. You'll see her shoot it with her right hand. In her career, up until this season, she shot all of her jumpers and free throws as a left-hander. This offseason, she made the decision to shoot righty. This is her last season. You see her shooting with her left. She's not been a great free throw shooter throughout the course of her career. She gets there a ton. She does everything else in her life as a righty. So she said, you know what, I'm going to try to start shooting not only free throws, but her jumpers as a right-hander. I've never heard of this before, Ryan.
You know, one player who did it in the NBA, Tristan Thompson.
Yep.
He ended up switching hands after a couple of seasons into his NBA career. But obviously highly irregular. It's something that many fans want Ben Simmons in Philadelphia to do as well. Gray hooks it in with the left hand, and Chelsea Gray has 18. 19 make it. Sims with 16, 18 for Ogwumike, 19 for Gray. The lead is 9 for LA, 2 seconds left. And that will end the third quarter. As the Sparks able to take some control, they have built their largest lead of the game. 74-65. Fourth quarter action is coming up next.
Welcome back to Mohegan Sun Arena here with Connecticut coach Curt Miller. LA has their biggest lead of the game, 9 right now. What do you need to do defensively to get back in?
Well, we got to string some stops together. We're being a little bit passive at the point of attack. We're a little conservative, just trying to stay in front of them, but they're moving the ball wherever they want. So we got to be just more disruptive this quarter.
You talked to me this morning, called LA your kryptonite because you have not beaten them yet in your career. Offensively, what are the keys?
Well, we shot 60% and we're losing, so it's the other end of the floor. So we're making a lot of baskets, but we're not getting any consecutive stops to allow our running game to go. But when you're scoring at that percentage against LA, you can't complain, but we got to get stops.
All right, Coach, thank you.
But to Curt Miller's point, LA shot at 12 of 18 from the floor in that third quarter, but a nice start here to the fourth for Connecticut. Cheney now at 16 points on 8 of 10 shooting. She leads all Sun scorers.
Cheney with quickness and activity and the ability to slip screens and work her way in. Just a beautiful job. Pick and roll. The defense isn't there. Help side's not there. Man, beautiful finish.
And what a good sign for Connecticut that this is game 2 for Cheney, recovering from the Achilles injury, and she looks this sharp. Now a steal, down court feed, collected by Cheney, can't finish, Jones
What did Kurt Miller say to you, Rebecca? More aggressive at the point of attack. And that's exactly what Alex Bentley was there, guarding Elena Beard, forcing that turnover and a little bit of life for the Sun.
Gray threw it away. Bentley collects it. Here come the Sun. Do-do-do-do. Thomas hits the three. A 7-0 start to the fourth for Connecticut.
When you get stops at one end of the floor, you can make a cut into the lead on the other. Jasmine Thomas, one of the most improved three-point shooters from a season ago. Money.
ESPN's coverage of the WNBA is brought to you by Verizon, the most awarded network ever, and Taco Bell's Steel.
I'll miss watching the Mercury and Lynx work. After Diana Taurasi already recorded a little history this season, what else is new for her? And the Minnesota Lynx, champions 4 times in the last 7 seasons. Gray lost it. Another turnover to start this fourth for LA. Bentley's jumper. No. Thomas thought about kicking it out. Instead, lays it in. What's the foul?
Alyssa Thomas is so strong. When she gets the offensive board, can absorb contact. She is big, broad-shouldered, does this as well as anybody in the league, and that's finish with contact.
Rebecca, this run has been made by the big lineup. And you talked about it there in the first half about when would Kurt Miller go to this. How he has 3 very good young post players in Thomas, and Agumake, and Jones. And they've done a pretty good job, and they've been able to impose their will a little bit on the boards.
Connecticut, its first lead since it was 46-45 late in the second. A 10-0 run, longest run by either team tonight. Sims weaves, kicks, Carson, no. Bentley, way too strong. Sims sees Williams leaking out, laying in, getting hit. There's the foul.
What a great pass by Odyssey Sims. Sees Raquana Williams streaking down the court, gets enough air under it to get over the outstretched arm of the Connecticut Sun defender, and then the patience of Williams to shot fake, let Bentley go by with the flyby. She tags her on the arm and is able to finish, and that's a good momentum shift. And it's something we talked about in the Open, is I was interested to see how LA's players would handle the swings and momentum. And clearly the game has swung into Connecticut's favor, and that was a nice answer by the Sparks.
Jasmine Thomas gets knocked. We'll go to the line to shoot 2. Let's take a listen in to Kurt Miller wired for sound the last 2 Connecticut huddles.
We've got to make them miss, not hope they miss. Hey, we've got to be active hands in trying to disrupt them. All started with your defense. All started with your defense deflections, and we got running. All right, move. Hey, we got to be real solid here. Hey, make them make a basket right here. Hey, contest and rebound. Contest and rebound. Keep moving.
That's a pretty good sample size of what his huddles have been like all game long, with most of the focus and talk being about what they need to do on the defensive end, the point of attack on the ball, and especially having active hands.
Tied at 77, and a whistle. Foul on the floor goes against Connecticut. Let's take a look back at Nneka Agumake in the post. Just jockeying with John Quell, arm bars her to the ground.
Did you say that because we just signed the UFC?
I think so. Hey, company man over
there. There you go.
By the the way.
I'm scared of the young bar.
I love Disney World as well. Two-point lead for the Sparks. Jones, catch, fire, and foul. 12 points for Jonquel Jones. Kara Lawson and Rebecca Lobo continuing to work behind the benches tonight in Connecticut. A little out of control, and Williams was fouled. We'll see if they call it on the shot or the floor, and it'll be a side out of bounds. How you ladies enjoying your purchase this evening?
I'm loving my perch. I especially like it when Kurt Miller gets up and like walks in front of me and is demonstrative. It's upsetting when he's just sitting on the bench and I can't hear anything that he's saying.
That was almost a gyration in front of you.
Yeah, it's fascinating stuff.
And Kara, you cool with your seat over there with Brian Agler?
I'm great with my sheet. I've been kind of doing this on and off to try and hear what's going on and still listen to the broadcast, but hear what Brian Agler's saying to his team and what the refs are saying. It's nice to have this vantage point because you get to hear so much more.
But we miss you, Ryan. We really miss you.
Speak for yourself.
Carson hits the jumper. Essence Carson now with 12 points. And another lead change. LA, 1-point advantage, 14 lead changes, 16 ties. Good contest here on ESPN2 as Thomas just swiveled between two defenders and laid it in.
With this big lineup, there's nothing Cappy Pondexter could do to battle Alyssa Thomas. And even when the double and triple came, Thomas is slippery in there and can finish.
11 points, 6 rebounds for Alyssa Thomas. Sims speeds and banks it in.
Wow, what a play. And what a tough shot.
18 now for Sims on 7 of 12 shooting. Meanwhile, all 5 Connecticut starters in double figures, including that one. Alyssa Thomas couldn't reverse it in, though, and then a foul on Chiney Agumike.
Alyssa Thomas, because of her size and Connecticut being in the big lineup, is going to have mismatches. Cappy Pondexter has been one of them, and she's able to take advantage. Slippery finishing, even with multiple defenders.
That is a costly foul for Connecticut. As we saw the beautiful drive from Sims, the foul on Chiney is the 15th foul against the Sun, which means LA is shooting free throws the rest of the way with a lot of time left in this fourth quarter.
Yeah, this game is, I have a feeling, going to go back and forth these last 5.5 minutes. But, you know, let's kind of recap for everybody what LA has been able to accomplish already in this short season. I mean, without the services of Candace Parker, without the services of Jantel Lavender, without the services of Maria Vadeva, and then going on the road to the defending champion Minnesota, going on the road and beating Indiana, and now in an opportunity to go 3-0 to start off the season. I mean, that would be an incredible feat for a team that considers itself one of the best in the WNBA.
So deep this season, and obviously will only get better when Parker and Lavender play. Gray trying to save it, does. 2-point Sparks lead. 16 ties, 16 lead changes. About halfway through this fourth. Sims wiggles, dishes, Nneka glides in, lost it, got it back, kicks it out. Sims' rainbow shot is good. She has 20. And now a collision right in front of Courtney Williams, who's getting ready to check in. And Raquana Williams called for the foul. Third team foul on LA.
Ryan, if Holly Rowe was here, she would tell you that the laser cartridge has been brought over, and right now they're replacing it in the printer. Just to give you a quick update on an injury report on the printer.
Oh, I'm glad you were there to fill in for Holly and let us know what was going on. Bentley instant three. 1-point game. Oh, there's the printer with you, right? Rebecca, why don't you give it a nice little tap over there? Yeah.
It's got 4 cartridges, black, blue, red, and yellow. All right, I'm done.
Sims? Not that time. Here comes Alyssa Thomas. Williams. Nice job by Sims to get over the screen and stick with Williams. Jonquel Jones has the size on Carson and just ate her up. Connecticut back in front by 1. Excellent game here at Mohegan Sun Arena. Nneka. No. Thomas another board. Had her path thwarted, got it back. Connecticut with numbers. Jones's three. You got it. And a foul called on Alyssa Thomas as Chelsea Gray was just trying to set up for a timeout. And Connecticut's over the limit. So free throws for Gray.
Jonquel Jones at 6'6", showing her versatility and what she can do inside. She's got mobility. She can finish, move. She moves as well as any big player in the league. Inside, then we're going to go outside. Able to do that, and as a result, turning this LA lead upside down.
After the second shot that she made, that three, I looked down the bench. I'm thinking, is Candace here? Is Parker here? Can we can we get a sub with her? Because the combination of what you talked about, Rebecca, the size and the skill, it's just unique. It's unique. There's just not many players in this league that have her size and the ability to shoot like she can.
Meanwhile, costly mistake for Connecticut as Chelsea Gray was just trying to call a timeout. And instead the foul and 2 free throws. Cheney puts it in on the delivery from Thomas. 18 now for Cheney Agwumike on 9 of 12 shooting. Connecticut shooting 61% as a team, LA 58. Brilliant offense from both teams. Sims can't finish. Thomas dashing ahead. Flips it up. And that is going to be a charge. And the 5th foul on Alyssa Thomas. But Cheney Agwumike with 18 so far tonight, helping give Connecticut a 4-point lead with 2:37 to go.
Cassidy Hupperth in studio, and coming up next, NCAA softball super regionals. Oregon taking on Kentucky in the circle. Megan Kleiss, last week in the regional, she notched a 0 ERA. That's next after Spark Sun on ESPN2. Ryan, back to you.
All right, Cassidy, we look forward to that here in Connecticut. Outstanding game. Sun leading the Sparks 92-88. Ryan Rucco, Rebecca Lobo, Kara Lawson with you. Rebecca and Kara both behind the benches tonight. Rebecca behind Kurt Miller in Connecticut, and Kara behind Brian Agler in LA. The Agwumike sisters jockeying right side of the lane, now center of it. 4 to shoot. Sims trying to get free. 1 to shoot. Gray has to put it up. I'm not sure she got it off in time. Nonetheless, did not hit. And Brian Agler was not happy with the possession.
No, he wasn't. There was an error made by one of the players in terms of running the play correctly. So he's not very happy.
And there was probably an error defensively. Largest Connecticut lead, and Alyssa Thomas has had her fingerprints all over this 4th quarter comeback. LA led by 9 after 3. Sims gives it up. 6 to shoot. Carson forced it up and got the whistle, a much needed one for Los Angeles.
Well, this has been Los Angeles' saving grace since Connecticut has taken the lead. It's been their ability to get their free throw line, right? I mean, the fact that they're in the bonus because they have not been able to manufacture good looks at the basket. And let's credit Connecticut and their defense by being a big factor in that.
Hear Curt Miller say, stay solid, stay solid. That was his main theme in the last huddle as well.
Taking a look at the upcoming WNBA national TV schedule. NBA TV Sunday, 8:30 Eastern, Seattle at Vegas. ESPN2 Friday, June 1st, Phoenix in Minnesota at 8 Eastern. And ESPN2 Thursday, June 7th, 10:30 Eastern. It's these LA Sparks hosting Seattle. For more on these games, please go to WNBA.com and visit the WNBA app. Bodies hit the floor. 4-point game, 90 seconds to go. A 12-4 Connecticut run to Kara's point, all 4 LA points from the free throw line. Williams out of control, lost it, and that's going to be a jump ball. Kara Lawson and Rebecca Lobo have been behind the benches all night long. What kind of things are you hearing down the stretch here, ladies?
Well, at least in Curt Miller's huddles for Connecticut, he's keeping things pretty simple in concepts. Defensively, stay active, stay solid. Offensively, let's get out and run in transition. It's not so much the intricacies of setting up certain plays, but just schemes and how to stay solid within what you're trying to do.
I think most of the huddles for Brian Agler, at least the last couple, there's been something drawn up for them to run to try and put them in a position to be successful. And you see them a little bit of confusion there between Carson and Agumake with which side that they should be on.
Gray just trying to create something, can't. Carson, good effort on the glass, couldn't get to it. Here comes Williams, dashing ahead, the pull-up, it's good! 6-point game. Gray closed out on by Thomas. Carson, that's a jumper. And the defense of Connecticut has just been outstanding in this fourth quarter.
Courtney Williams gets out in transition, and because of her ability to rise and go up for a shot, while she was in the air, she looked over to Jonquil Jones, saw that she wasn't open, was still able to hang long enough to finish that shot. What an athlete.
Curt Miller's team 34 seconds away from a comeback win. Williams, LA has to foul. They have not yet. Connecticut playing keep away, and now Bentley is fouled. Sparks had a foul to give.
There was just a funny interaction as Courtney Williams was speeding down the floor. Curt Miller was running alongside her saying, slow down, and after the foul happened, he came over and looked at her and said, settle down, and she did the same thing back to him with her hands. Settle down, like, I got this, coach, we're all right.
We're JJ.
Well, he has settled down on the bench now.
Yeah, look at him. He's settled.
Last season's Coach of the Year. LA has had a very hard time generating any good looks offensively down the stretch of this game. And a Connecticut bench of +17 as Alyssa Thomas heads to it. What a fourth quarter for her. What a game. 13 points, 9 rebounds, 5 assists. Bentley is fouled. And Alex Bentley will shoot 2.
Curt Miller took Alyssa Thomas out that possession because she's a career 56% free throw shooter. He's not as confident in her right hand to leave her in these stretches, and then he'll put her back in to get her in on the defensive end.
Bentley hits the first.
The difference in this game has been the size and the scoring ability of Connecticut in the paint. I mean, and they've been able to double up Los Angeles on the glass. It's something that Brian Agler knew coming in, that rebounding was going to be a key piece against this team because of how strong Connecticut is as a rebounding team and the missing pieces he had along his front line. And so credit the Connecticut Sun to be able to enforce their and impose their will on this team with their size and their physicality.
.4 seconds remaining, and Nneka Ogwumike on the brink of suffering her first loss to Chiney, her sister. Nneka had been 5-0 in their WNBA careers, but the Connecticut Sun have turned a 9-point deficit after 3 into an 8-point lead here in the fourth. Nice drawn-up play for Williams, who hits the 3 and don't go away yet. 5-point game and a timeout taken by Curt Miller. We'll step aside with 19.3 to go and a 5-point lead for the Sun. A 5-point lead for Connecticut. The Ogwumike sisters have not only exchanged words, but buckets throughout the night. Chiney with 18 points on 9 of 12 shooting. Nneka with 18 points on 7 of 13 shooting. And Chiney 19.3 seconds away from her first ever win over Nneka. Efficient nights offensively for both of these talented young women. Bentley, here's the trap from LA. They don't want to foul, and they may not need to. Bentley throws it away. Here comes Nneka through the lane, got hacked, and then fell hard. And they may review whether or not this is just a common foul. As Nneka Ogwumike went down hard after the contact.
Ryan, in that last timeout, Curt Miller repeatedly told his team, we have 3 timeouts left. If you get trapped, call a timeout. I'm sure that's what he's talking to Alex Bentley about right now. Right there, call the timeout. Then when you get on the floor, you have 3 left. And great job by LA to come up with that and go the other way.
Executed perfectly by Los Angeles. What a lot of teams do is they foul right away. And Brian Agler, he wanted his team to be patient, and you saw the double team, and they created the turnover, and this thing's far from over, especially pending what this is.
Exactly. A huge call, because if it's a flagrant one, it would be 2 shots in the ball.
Ryan, you and I like to play this game when we're sitting next to one another. I think that's just a common foul.
Yeah.
I think Courtney Williams goes up hard, but I think she's going for the ball. I think that's a common foul. Then Nneka should get 2 free throws.
Carrie, you agree?
I wouldn't be shocked if it was a flagrant one, but I would say it's common. But I wouldn't be shocked.
If there's a windup, that's where they could go to the flagrant. But I tend to lean towards where you're going, Kara, where you are, Rebecca. That feels more like a common foul.
Lean in, Ryan. Lean in. People like to use that phrase.
They do. And it is going to be a common foul. So Nneka Ogwumike will shoot 2. Remember, Connecticut 3 timeouts remaining. And Nneka makes the first. Still a little bit gimpy on that right leg.
No foul.
After the contact.
Elena's going to go.
And once again, Brian Agler wants the trap, but free throw missed. Chiney the rebound. Timeout, Connecticut. With 9.7 to go in the fourth. The Sun lead by 4. .7 seconds remaining in this fourth quarter. Connecticut a 4-point lead over LA. Anything particularly interesting in that huddle there, Rebecca?
I'm not allowed on the court during the 20 seconds, so I'm sure there was a ton of interesting stuff. I just didn't hear it.
Samesies.
Our two wonderful analysts behind the benches tonight. Rebecca, who's been behind Connecticut's all evening, and Kara behind LA's.
Did you hear anything interesting in either of those huddles, Ryan?
Yeah, but it came from statistician Stevie LeBeau, and I'd rather not repeat it on air. That's when all the best nuggets are revealed. As Bentley hits the free throw. LA has one timeout remaining. Connecticut has outscored Los Angeles 34-20 in this fourth quarter. And now 35-20 as Brian Agler will spend the Sparks' final timeout. It's a 20-second timeout, so Kara and Rebecca will both stay seated in their behind-the-bench positions. Still time left for LA to make something happen, but with no timeouts remaining, would take some sort of basketball miracle to be able to pull this off. So getting sort of an overall perspective on what you ladies have experienced tonight, what has stood out most to you about the experience, Kara?
I mean, I felt at times a part of the team, because you know what's going to happen before it happens. You get the plays, and you're a part of the huddles, and it's nice to be back in a huddle because you have the communication going on from so many different places. So that part has been fun. It's also been fun to watch Brian Agler work, to watch him adjust, to watch him scheme, to watch him communicate. All of those things that you know and that you're getting as a player, you're getting it from a different perspective here.
Samuelson loses it. Thomas collects it. Lays it in. For the first time in Janae Mbumage's career, she has defeated Big Sister as Kurt Miller's Connecticut Sun come up with a 102-94 win. And Rebecca, it looked like Kurt Miller had some final words for you in those final seconds.
Well, he definitely was looser than he had been the rest of the game. Very excited. Finally, he talked about LA being his kryptonite. For the first time in his career, he's beaten LA, the only team he had yet to beat since he became a head coach.
102-94 the final for Rebecca Lobo and Kara Lawson. Our producer, Ian Rucco, our director, Chuck Cigarello. I'm Ryan Rucco. Our next WNBA game Friday, June 1st from Minnesota. We now send you out to Eugene, Oregon for college softball as Connecticut making Kentucky and Oregon face